All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to unravel the epic, century-long story of the Al Nahyan family. We're talking about the dynasty that literally transformed a barren stretch of desert into one of the most powerful financial empires on the entire planet.
You know, this one sentence just nails it. It perfectly captures their whole story. We're talking about a saga of survival, of betrayal, and ultimately of incredible vision. All of it rising right out of the sands of Abu Dhabi.
And this is the result. We're talking over $1.5 trillion in sovereign wealth. And get this, it's all managed by a single family. You know, people have said Abu Dhabi isn't just a city, it's basically a global hedge fund that just happens to have a skyline. It's wild.
So the big question is, how on earth did they do it? How did they turn sand and, yes, blood into one of the world's greatest fortunes? Well, their story, their rise, it was soaked in blood, it was tested by total economic ruin, and in the end, it was resurrected by some truly incredible vision.
Okay, so to really get a handle on the richest part of this story, we first have to understand the rags. And believe me, the story begins in one of the absolute harshest environments on the planet.
Okay, so picture this. For centuries, the Bani As tribe is just trying to survive. They're clinging to life in this hidden oasis in a massive desert called the Empty Quarter. I mean, this is a place where water is way more precious than gold. Then, in 1761, the legend goes that a gazelle leads a sheikh to an island that has fresh water. He names it Abu Dhabi, which means father of the gazelle. And right there, they build this mud fortress, the Qasr al-Hosn, basically their stronghold against everything, the desert and all their rivals. But here's the thing, survival wasn't just about fighting the elements. No, the greatest threat so often came from right inside the family. You could say the throne itself was a blade, and getting to it, well, succession was just a brutal, deadly affair.
And just look at the sheer velocity of the violence here. After Zayd the Great dies in 1909, it's just total chaos. In 1922, Hamdan is murdered by his own brothers. Then, just 4 years later, one of those brothers, Saqr, murders the other one, Sultan, at dinner. And then, only 2 years after that, Saqr himself gets executed. It was literally brother killing brother for the throne.
I mean, this was just the culture. It was completely unforgiving. In a place where absolute rule was the only way to survive, power was simply taken by whoever was fastest with the blade. The family was literally tearing itself apart from the inside out. So right when it seemed like the dynasty was about to completely destroy itself from within, two things happened that would change everything. First, a global economic shock, and second, the intervention of a powerful matriarch who basically said, enough is enough.
You have to understand, for centuries, the entire Gulf region lived and died by one thing, pearls. That was their whole economy. Then, bam! In the 1920s, a Japanese scientist perfects cultured pearls. They flood the market, prices absolutely crash, and Abu Dhabi's economy is pretty much wiped out, almost overnight.
And this right here, this is the turning point. A woman named Sheikha Salama, whose own husband had been murdered at that very dinner table we talked about. She gathers her surviving sons. She makes them kneel, places the Quran between them, and forces them to swear an oath to end the cycle of brother killing brother. You know, that single moment of moral force, it may have saved the entire dynasty.
And that oath came just in time. Why? Because deep beneath the sand, they discovered oil. But the new ruler, Sheikh Shakbat, he was scarred by the memory of that pearl market crash. He was terrified of losing everything again, so he refused to spend a single rupee of the new oil money. He literally hoarded it in iron chests while his people stayed poor. So you end up with this incredible contrast, this conflict brewing right inside the family. On one side, you have Shakbat, the hoarder, totally terrified that all this new wealth would just vanish. And on the other side, you have his younger brother, Zayed, who's out there using his own money to build clinics and schools. He believed that progress was the only real path forward.
Yeah, something clearly had to give. This just couldn't last. The family was getting frustrated, the British saw Shakbat as an obstacle to progress, so Zayed orchestrated this swift, completely bloodless coup. A letter was delivered, Shakbat was quietly flown into exile, and just like that, the visionary took his place.
And Zayed doesn't waste a second. He immediately starts transforming Abu Dhabi, building roads, schools, hospitals, you name it. But just as this modern state starts to take shape, an even bigger challenge appears on the horizon. See, for about 150 years, the British Empire had basically been the region's protector, keeping bigger powers like Iran and Saudi Arabia at bay. But then, all of a sudden, they announced they're leaving. This created a massive power vacuum, leaving all these tiny, vulnerable sheikdoms totally exposed. Zayed knew what would happen. He knew that if they stayed divided, they would be swallowed up. So in this incredible move, he drives completely alone to a secret meeting with Sheikh Rashid of Dubai. And these two guys, these powerful rivals, they chose unity over centuries of suspicion. And on December 2nd, 1971, the United Arab Emirates was born. But you know, creating a nation is one thing. Keeping it together is a whole other story. And the young UAE, along with the Al Nahyan leadership, was about to be tested immediately by a series of just devastating global crises. First up, you had the global oil price crash in the 80s that just wiped out their revenues. Then came the catastrophic collapse of the BCCI Bank in 1991, which was a huge personal humiliation for Zayed. And then finally, the 2008 financial crisis, which brought their neighbor, Dubai, to the absolute brink of total collapse. And I mean, the numbers really show the scale of these challenges. A 70% drop in oil revenue, a staggering $10 billion loss from the BCII scandal, and a crucial $10 billion bailout just to save Dubai. Now, each time they survived. And the reason they survived was because of Sheikh Zayed's foresight. He never forgot how that pearl market crash devastated his people, and he knew that oil, just like pearls, wouldn't last forever. So he quietly set up these sovereign wealth funds decades earlier, basically a national rainy day fund designed to secure their future long after the oil runs out. And all of that, well, it brings us to today. From a simple mud fortress to a global financial powerhouse, the Al Nahyan family's incredible journey is almost complete. So what's the end result of this century-long saga? Well, the UAE has saved up the equivalent of over $1.3 million for every single citizen. Just think about that. It's an almost unimaginable level of national wealth. Because when you really look back at it, this entire story, from the brother-on-brother violence and the poverty, all the way to the skyscrapers and the sovereign wealth, it was all fueled by one thing: black gold.
But here's the thing. Oil won't last forever. And that leaves us with the final, trillion-dollar question. They built an entire nation on oil. The great test, the one that's still to come,